Hello, TV fans. I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here to talk about the Golden Globe nominations for television, which we are predicting. I'm here with my fellow editors Marcus James Dixon and Zachary Laws. The comedy categories are interesting because we're following up Schitt's Creek's epic sweep at the Emmys. It won every single top category it was nominated for. Never happened before in the history of the Emmys. So it's just going to sweep the Golden Globes too, right, Zach?
Well, not so fast, okay? It's very rare for the Golden Globes to follow what the Emmys are doing. Last year they did it with Fleabag, which was an anomaly. And I think that it's important to go back and look at that competition and realize that the only first season show that was nominated for Best Comedy Series at the Golden Globes that year was The Politician. And I don't think they were quite willing to anoint a show that had such a mixed reaction as that one. So I think Fleabag kind of won by default there. This year, I think that they have a lot of different options for new shows that they could reward. And what I'm going back and forth on in my own predictions is whether I'm going to predict a pairing of Jason Sudeikis and Ted Lasso, or Kaylee Cuoco and the Flight Attendant. Those are the two actors who I have predicted to win, and we know that they oftentimes like to pair up a show and its lead performer with wins. But those two might not be the combination that we go with. I mean, it could be that they go with The Great and either Nicholas Holt and Elle Fanning or both. It could be that they go with Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist and Jane Levy. They do love the musical part of this category, and it is the musical in competition. Or, honestly, they could just go Schitt's Creek, Catherine O'Hara.
There you go. You finally got it right.
But I have Schitt's Creek all the way down at 5th place right now. I almost took it out of my predictions right before we came on here, but it was a little silly of me to say that. I do think that they're going to try to, especially since Schitt's Creek is not coming back for another season, and there's going to be a new Emmy frontrunner next fall. I think the Golden Globes are going to use this as an opportunity to be the first to anoint a new frontrunner.
I think at this early stage, pre-noms, I think it's a little silly to not have Schitt's Creek and all four actors in, just because of what happened at the Emmys and all of the buzz they got. Once the noms come out, maybe you will be proven right that they're not going to like it. But I think it's the smart bet to just put them all in for now. Whether or not they're going to win is another story, but I do think the whole cast will get nominated and the show will get nominated. I do have the show winning, and I have Catherine O'Hara winning, but I don't have anyone else from Schitt's Creek. They're definitely not going to go overboard. I think it's going to be either those two or nothing.
Yeah, I think it's I have Schitt's Creek out front to win. This feels kind of like a Breaking Bad situation where the Globes weren't really on board with it before, probably didn't know it existed before. And now that it's such a big deal, they don't want to look foolish. So I think they'll at least nominate it. And I think it probably has enough juice to win. The problem at the Globes is that you can't really, I don't think they're giving it everything. And even if they gave it everything, it wouldn't be a sweep to equal what it did at the Emmys. So from that height, like, no offense to the Golden Globes, but if you want to peak in the TV industry, you want it to be with that kind of an Emmy sweep. Golden Globes would just kind of be icing on the cake. So I could see them going, it's like, oh, well, someone has been there and done that. Let's do something different. But I think we might see that in other categories. I think they might still give comedy series and probably actress to Schitt's Creek, although I do think in every single acting category is incredibly vulnerable. I actually think it could win series. As sort of like that checkoff. We love, we're not dummies. We like this show too. And then go their own way everywhere else. I could see all four of the actors not winning.
And the weird thing about Catherine O'Hara, she's such a legend in the industry. She's never been nominated at the Golden Globes for anything. None of her TV work, none of her movie work. So if they snub her for this at this time after the Emmy victory, they've got something against her. It's personal if they don't
They
nominate
could continue that trend, I was gonna say, you know. The other combination that could happen theoretically is pairing up comedy series and supporting actor for Dan Levy, since he is the creator and you know, the sort of spiritual figurehead of the series, and certainly the emotional catalyst of the final season. According to our odds, this show is predicted to win 4 awards: comedy series, actor for Eugene Levy, actress for Catherine O'Hara, supporting actor for Dan Levy. The only award it's not predicted to win is supporting actress, because Gillian Anderson is beating Annie Murphy there. Poor Annie Murphy is always being underestimated by our website.
Watch her be the only Schitt's Creek winner.
But yeah, I can't shake this feeling that even though it could follow the Breaking Bad trajectory, or even the Fleabag trajectory, you know, they might feel this desire to be the first out with rewarding something brand new, and it feels like that's much more likely on this side of things than it is on the drama side. But there are so many new things out right now that it could cannibalize the competition, and Schitt's Creek could just sort of come up the middle and win by default. But yeah, I mean, I feel like there's going to be kind of a been there, done that feeling for them when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely not it's the cool show, but it's the cool show of like earlier in the season. And right now, there's a lot of media talk, people discovering Ted Lasso, and people really excited about The Flight Attendant, and these shows that feel like more current in terms of the cycle of just the media conversation, where Schitt's Creek is kind of like you said, a little bit been there, done that, and done a lot of that given that Emmy sweep. So yeah, it's definitely not the slam dunk here that it certainly was at the Emmys. Like, there was nothing beating it at the Emmys. So it's a little tough to see what else beats it besides those. There's also in this category potentially Insecure. You've got Rami. You've got What We Do in the Shadows, which had a huge Emmy windfall, 8 nominations, several for writing, none for acting. I think that could change here. Insecure also had that huge Emmy explosion, like it's been on for a few seasons, suddenly gets into comedy series, supporting actress, and a bunch of other categories. So we could see that return, especially with the news that it's ending after its upcoming 5th season. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is the musical. I think there's a chance for Pen 15, because that is your cool, quirky, weird, like cool people love Pen 15, and I could see like an organization as small as the Golden Globes picking up on it and really surprising with that, as they've done with other, like with Casual. So that's a possibility. Any other contenders you think for the series category that you think could surprise?
I just wanted to mention Ted Lasso and say that, you know, if they don't love Schitt's Creek, I do think Ted Lasso is winning. I think it has strong enough buzz, and Zach, you monitor our social media. You were saying anything we tweet about it gets a ton of traffic. Mm-hmm. People love this show, and they're just discovering it in quarantine. And it has a lead actor that can easily win when we talk about that category. And the other one I have in third place, The Great. And The Great, you know, it feels older because it came out in April or May, but it was so good. And I remember at the time we were saying, you know, whether it gets in at the Emmys or not, which it got in for writing and directing, we were saying this is a Globe show. This will be found by the Globes. They will love this. The comedy aspect, it's also very dramatic. And the 2 lead performances, Elle Fanning and Nicholas Holt, he just jumped up from supporting to lead. He got promoted, I guess. They are fantastic. I think they'll both get in. They could both win too. we could see a Homeland situation where the great wins series and then the two actors go along for the ride, the two leads. So for me, it's Ted Lasso and then the great, but there's an asterisk by both of those because I do have Schitt's Creek winning. It just depends on if they love it or not. I mean, we don't know until the noms come out.
You know, it's so funny. When you were talking about The Great, which I also have predicted to get nominated, as well as for Nicholas Holt and Elle Fanning, I just had this flash of shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and The Crown, both of which won the Golden Globes in the comedy and drama categories. Both hour-long programs with high production value, period costumes, period set designs. They eat that stuff up at the Golden Globes. So it would not surprise me to see that show, which came very close to getting nominated for comedy series, I think, suddenly get a big boost from the Golden Globes. I think, you mentioned about the Ted Lasso love. That is a show that is following a sort of Schitt's Creek trajectory where people are discovering it in quarantine, and it's appealing to them in this moment where everything is so fractured and awful, and they can't be with their families and their friends. And here comes along a show very much like Schitt's Creek that is all about community and is all about friendship and surrogate families. I think that there's an appeal to that that we could be underestimating at this time, which is why I have it so high up in my predictions. One show you didn't mention, Daniel, is Nora from Queens from Awkwafina, who just made history with her Golden Globe win on the film side for The Farewell. I think that there could be some residual love left over for her here. If she at least can get nominated in the actress category, it's possible that her series could get nominated as well.
So let's go into those acting categories. We've talked a bunch about Ted Lasso for comedy series and its potential to double up with a win for Jason Sudeikis. Can pull off that 1-2 punch of an SNL alum, kind of like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Andy Samberg did. So I do think I was predicting sort of Eugene Levy by default for a while. Today I looked at my predictions and I thought they're not going to go all the way there. And I feel like, one, they're already awarding Eugene Levy as a producer of the show if it wins comedy series. Two, performance-wise, it's always been more Catherine O'Hara and Dan Levy who have been really kind of the points of passion for that show among the cast. So I feel like this is the spot they'll go with the brand new show that's cool, that's incredibly well liked, that people are discovering, that lets them plant their flag. I'm going with Jason Sudeikis. How about you two?
Yeah, I have Jason too. I think he wins here no matter what, whether his show wins or not. I think he is as close to a lock as there is. Don't count out Nicholas Holt. Rami Youssef won last year. He could win again, but they really don't like to give an award to the same person, back to back. Don Cheadle is another person that he's a little bit farther down in our odds, but don't count him out. It would be the one, Showtime nomination that they could get outside of the limited series categories. I mean, the strongest, I should say, not the one, but the strongest chance they have of getting a nomination. And the Globes love Don Cheadle. They gave him a win for House of Lies way back, and I don't think he got a win anywhere else, at any award show for that.
Yeah, I feel like this is a two-person race between Jason Sudeikis, who I'm picking, and Nicholas Holt, who I have in my second place slot, because his odds have steadily increased ever since he's made the move over to lead, and I mean he is so typical of the kind of young performer that the Globes love to honor. He's somebody who's been acting since he was a little kid in About a Boy, and he's been in so many different projects, including things like Mad Max, where he's totally unrecognizable. And here he's got this big, broad, winking devil, villainous role that is so juicy and so much fun to watch. So I could really see him challenging Jason Sudeikis here. I think Rami Youssef gets back in, even if he doesn't contend to win. I have Matt Berry getting in for What We Do in the Shadows. I think that show could get in for series as well, and he was probably the strongest acting contender from that show to get in. He had this wonderful standout episode, the Jackie Daytona episode for fans of the show. So I think I could see him getting in here. And then I also have Eugene Levy as well, just because, like you guys said, even though I don't think Schitt's Creek's going to win, it seems kind of foolish to not predict it in all 4 acting categories, at least for nominations.
Another one, Ricky Gervais for Afterlife. I mean, this is a Globe favorite. He won for The Office, for producing The Office. Did he win for acting on The Office? I'm blanking.
I think he won for the producer for acting in The Office. I don't know if he's won for acting. He also did win series for the Extras. Also, I believe won Best Comedy Series. So they do love him.
And he's hosted so many times. He's associated with the Golden Globes. Like when I think of the Golden Globes, I think of Ricky Gervais. So don't count him out for Afterlife.
He did win for acting on The Office. I just looked that up. And he was nominated also he's been nominated for Extras, and he's been nominated for Derek. Interestingly enough, this Afterlife is the only show that he has not been nominated for acting at the Golden Globes.
Even though he was eligible, I believe he was eligible for it last year when he hosted.
He was, yeah. And I can't help but wonder if it's because, like, he's in Afterlife, he's not playing a big, broad character the way that he does in those other shows. This is a much more personal kind of role for him. I think he's really great in the show and probably the best work that he's ever done in his career. But I wonder if, because it is so subtle and oftentimes dramatic, if that's why they overlooked it last year. But maybe they could recognize it this go round.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some of those people who we haven't quite mentioned. Ben Platt, the politician, was nominated last year. Dave Bird for Dave, who I feel like is this, like, if they want to go this way, it could be like this year's Rami. This kind of quirky, under the radar personality who the audience can mistake for the editor when he goes up to the podium to accept this award. Another show, and didn't mention it for comedy series either, Sex Education. I wonder if that has an outside chance. It's a British show. It's got Gillian Anderson, who we're pretty sure they're going to like for The Crown. I wouldn't be 100% surprised to see her nominated twice for supporting actress for that and for Sex Education. It's a British comedy. It's cheeky. It has that kind of Glee feel, but it's also much more provocative since it's on Netflix. It's not on a broadcast network, so they can be a lot more sexually explicit with it. All the teenagers are played by adults, so it's not that creepy. So I feel like that's sort of in my sixth, seventh, or eighth spots in my head when I'm looking at every single one of these categories. So Asa Butterfield, I'm not like I could see him getting in. I would love to see Michael Cimino get in for Love Victor. I'm just biased for that show. I don't know how likely that is. Anyone else you guys think we're underestimating there?
I feel it's interesting you bring up Sex Education, because I remember that show had so much buzz this past Emmy season. And a lot of us were wondering if maybe it could break through there, and it was completely shut out. But it does seem like a kind of program that could, that the Golden Globes could recognize as a sort of like, we know better than the Emmys type of thing. And I mean, Love Victor as well. I mean, that show too has a lot of goodwill towards it. And Michael Cimino, not Cimino, not the director of The Deer Hunter. There's a lot of goodwill towards him as a performer as well, at least from what I see online. So I could see both of those factoring in there.
let's look at Best Comedy Actress, where Catherine O'Hara coming off that Emmy win. I feel like if the Golden Globes are going to double up, this is going to be it. It's going to be Schitt's Creek and Catherine O'Hara. She's never been nominated for a Golden Globe before. She is such a huge part of the love for that show, if not like the central dominant aspect of people's affection for it. So I feel like she wins here, but she also has probably some of the toughest competition anyone has, because you've got a couple of those shiny new objects, not to literally objectify women, but in terms of new shows and new performances that the Golden Globes can get really excited about, and that's especially Kaylee Cuoco, who I have at number 2 for The Flight Attendant. I think she has a very good chance of upsetting. And who Marcus mentioned, Elle Fanning for The Great. She's part of a showbiz family with her sister Dakota Fanning, who could also be nominated for the 2nd season of The Alienist this year. So we could see both Fanning sisters in there. She's a veteran of the industry, like Nicholas Holt. Like, both been acting since they've been children. So I think those are the closest rivals. I also have Issa Rae getting in for Insecure to kind of match how well the show did going into this season at the Emmys, where it really exploded in nominations, and Awkwafina Nora from Queens to kind of like that residual love that's still there from her Golden Globe win for The Farewell. So, but there are a lot of people even in here who are not in my predictions who have a very strong chance of a nomination. What do you think?
I'm looking at the Gold Derby official predictions, and it's so funny. Catherine O'Hara has 1,539 people predicting her to win. Second place is Elle Fanning, 123. That is quite a drop, or you could say that is quite a lead for Catherine O'Hara. I really just think this is hers to lose, and I would love if Elle Fanning won. I would love if Kaylee Cuoco or Issa Rae. I have Issa in second, actually. But, I mean, knowing the fact that Catherine O'Hara has never even been nominated at the Globes, if she gets nominated, I think it's a lock, pretty much.
I agree with part of your statement, the part of her losing. And I say this as somebody who thought she totally deserved to win that Emmy. I love Catherine O'Hara with all my heart. I would love for her to win this. I feel like they're going to, again, like, use this as an opportunity to anoint a new frontrunner. And I think that will either be, I'm predicting Kaylee Cuoco for The Flight Attendant. She's somebody who's been in television forever, starting off with 8 Simple Rules, and then, of course, Big Bang Theory. This is a performance that I think really took a lot of people by surprise. I don't think a lot of people thought she had this in her, despite how long she's been at this. It takes her television persona in some really interesting directions, and I think that they're going to reward her for that. In second place, I have Elle Fanning for The Great. Again, another person who I think has been steadily growing in esteem as the years go on, in both film and now in television. I do have O'Hara in third place because I'm not crazy. But aside from that, it's so hard for me to figure out who else is going to get nominated because there's so many possibilities. Right now I have Awkwafina for Nora from Queens and Eugene Levy for Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. She feels very much like the Rachel Bloom Crazy Ex-Girlfriend type nomination. And Awkwafina, like we said, just won last year. But also, I mean, I want to put Issa Rae in there for Insecure. I feel like Natasha Dimitrov from What We Do in the Shadows is a strong possibility. You've got Lily Collins and Emily from Paris. Don't forget about Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate and Dead to Me. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of possibilities in this category for new people and returning people. It's so hard to narrow down here.
I feel like we've got a lot of character thing titles in this race. You've got Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, you've got Emily in Paris, and then Nora from Queens. So if they're into title characters, then they have plenty of options.
It'd be funny if Jane Levy won this, Eugene Levy won actor, and Dan Levy won supporting. It'd be, the attack of the levies.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rule out Jane Levy. I don't know how and if everyone pronounces that spelling of their name, but yeah, I could see that happening. It's a new show that didn't really take off at the Emmys, but I feel like there's more breathing room here. Christina Applegate and Dead to Me. I feel like if that show had done a little bit better at the Emmys, like it got in for Best Comedy Series, but it only got the 2 lead actresses in, and I think maybe 1 or 2 other nominations. I think that's a possibility, though. It might also be possible that the Globes can't really decide between her and Linda Cardellini, and so they might cancel each other out. Looking at this list, I mentioned Pen 15 for Comedy Series. If that happens, I could see the Golden Globes going in that unconventional direction and going with either of its lead actresses. Scrolling down the list, poor Justina Machado. She didn't win Dancing with the Stars. And then they canceled One Day at a Time the day after, or like 2 days after. So that would be nice. But I don't know if the ship has sailed on that one. Still love you, Justina.
We all do, yeah.
There's Pamela Adlon for Better Things, and Gwyneth Paltrow, The Politician. Tracy Ellis Ross won this a few years back in a bit of a surprise, although I predicted her, for Blackish. So, don't count her out.
And Rashida Jones for Black AF, which she has one of those positions where she could benefit from buzz on the film side because she's in On the Rocks in the leading role there. So I could see that having a kind of elevating her role in this one.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. Zoe Kravitz in High Fidelity, which got canceled after 1 season, but she's still Hollywood royalty, and very good in the show as well. So I wouldn't count her out either, just as a way for the Globes to make Hulu look silly for canceling her series.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that, these races will change very quickly and very.
We should probably mention, if we have any supporting actors in our.
Oh yes, do we have any supporting actors from comedy that we're predicting to win? Because those supporting categories at the Golden Globes combine dramas, comedies, movies, and miniseries like Crazy People. So do we have anyone? I do not personally have any comedy. I had Dan Levy for a while. But I am not predicting him anymore for Best Supporting Actor in a Television Series. And I've got Gillian Anderson, a dramatic actress, for The Crown for Supporting Actress.
I am not currently, but the Gold Derby odds have Dan Levy winning Supporting Actor, and Mahershala Ali, they have him in 3rd place for Rami, so don't count him out.
I don't have any comedy people winning either supporting category, but I have got 2 nominated for each. I've got Dan Levy, and Mahershala Ali nominated in supporting actor, and I have Annie Murphy and Hannah Waddingham for Ted Lasso
that could happen.
Nominated. So, yeah, even if neither wins, I think comedy could dominate the supporting categories.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we will be in suspense up until the nominations are announced on February 3rd, I believe. In this weird extended Golden Globes period, under normal circumstances, by the time, as we're recording this now, we would have already had the Golden Globes under normal circumstances. So you've got more time to make your predictions, more time to prove us wrong, more time to prove us right. If you agree with us, please do.
Yeah.
And so we will see you again soon to talk about this race.